One serene twilight, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Chidima wandered into the heart of the Whispering Woods, her sanctuary cloaked in a tapestry of shadows and whispers. The ancient oaks, with their gnarled roots and sprawling canopies, cradled her in a world pulsing with life, a realm unseen by many. Here, the air was thick with the sweet scent of damp earth and blooming wildflowers, a blend that danced with the soft music of rustling leaves. Chidima felt a familiar flutter in her chest, a signal that magic lingered nearby. As she stepped deeper into the woods, her enchanted vision began to awaken. The usual trees bore eccentric markings, telling stories of years gone by, their bark adorned with swirling patterns that shimmered in the diminishing light. She paused to touch one. Under her fingers, the wood throbbed gently, echoing tales of the cosmos, of stars being born and ancient spirits roaming the twilight. Chidima closed her eyes, allowing the whispers of the wood to unravel, themselves, each voice a thread in the intricate tapestry of existence. Among the whispers, she sensed a shift, an urgency that stirred the creatures of the forest. A swift, darting shadow caught her attention. It was a small, timid creature with fur like molten gold, darting from one cluster of ferns to another. Its wide eyes mirrored the fear of something unseen. Chidima knelt down, her eyes sparkling with curiosity as she extended her hand, palm turned upward in an offer of solace. "Do not be afraid, little one," she spoke softly, her voice mingling with the rustling leaves. "What troubles you?" The creature approached warily, its trembling limbs betraying its nature. "The winds have changed," it whispered, its tiny voice quivering like the delicate petals of a flower. "Darkness spreads beyond the hills, where the light used to shine brighter. The elders say it is the work of the Shadow Weaver, a spirit who feeds on fear and despair." Chidima's heart quickened. She had heard tales of the Shadow Weaver, an ancient being craving the essence of joy, leaving desolation in its wake. "But why would it come to us?" she asked, her brow furrowing in concern. "The woods are woven with secrets," the creature replied, glancing back as if the shadows themselves might conspire against them. "And sometimes those who roam too closely can attract darkness." Determined, Chidima stood tall, clutching her heart, which pulsed with hope, a beacon against the encroaching gloom. "We must not let fear prevail. I will seek counsel from the great owl, the oldest spirit of the woods. It knows the pathways of light." As she ventured deeper into the woods, following the instinctive pull of her heart, she sensed the weight of expectation in the air. The trees leaned in closer, their branches whispering shared fears and quiet strength. Chidima, driven by her enchanted vision, felt a newfound courage blooming within her. She was ready to confront the shadows, not just for herself, but for every creature nestled in the warmth of the night. With each step, she vowed to reclaim the light that flickered on the edges of fear, weaving her own story with threads of bravery, guided by the whispers of the woods that had come to know her name. The woods held both darkness and light, and she understood now that to embrace one was to honor the other. Every step Chidima took through the village was weighted by the invisible gravitas of emotions she could not escape. The laughter of children, playing near the river, would twist into echoes of loss in her mind, a harmony of joy underlined by unspoken grief. She had learned to read the threads binding each villager, discovering that every smile was often a carefully woven tapestry, hiding threads of sorrow and hope intertwined. On this particular afternoon, as the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the path ahead, she sensed the tumult brewing within the heart of Mama Ifeoma, the village matriarch. Mama Ifeoma had long been a pillar in their community. Her tales were woven with the strength of experience, her laughter often rolling like thunder on rain-soaked days. Yet today, as Chidima approached the humble abode decorated with dried herbs and vibrant flowers, she could feel the weight of unwept tears resting upon the woman. Chidima's heart ached for her. It was as if the universe had wrapped despair around both their shoulders, tethering them to a moment suspended in time. "Child, you come like the sun piercing through a blanket of clouds," Mama Ifeoma greeted, but her voice trembled like fragile glass, hinting at something deeper. Chidima offered a warm smile, though it felt more an act of service than genuine cheerfulness. "Thank you, Mama Ifeoma. I wish to share in your light today," Chidima replied, sensing an invitation to delve deeper into the matriarch's concealed sorrow. Almost instinctively, she took a seat on a weathered wooden stool beside her, the still air thick with the scent of jasmine, mingling with the lingering fragrance of herbs. An olfactory embrace that should have brought comfort, but instead felt like the weight of remembrance. For every story that Mama Ifeoma shared about the triumphs of her youth, a shadow danced behind her words, revealing a tapestry stained with grief. It stalked her, insistent and unyielding. "Ah, Chidima, love is a fickle companion, is it not?" she mused lightly, her expression a portrait of nostalgia laced with sorrow. "Once I had a heart so full, it threatened to burst, yet I learned that the pleasure of love often comes at the price of pain." Here, Chidima saw the deeply woven lines etched upon Mama Ifeoma's face, each a testament to the love lost, the children gone too soon tragically, and the memories that continued to haunt her at twilight. Chidima wanted to lean in, to cradle that burden, to share the sorrow, but a pang of fear rooted her in place. Who was she, with her double-edged gift, to wield the truth of others? Did she not see how darkness swirled as much within herself as around Mama Ifeoma? In the silence that followed, the bond between them thickened, laced with the hints of all they dared not speak aloud. Chidima understood, with a clarity as piercing as a bolting arrow, that the gift was indeed a curse, both for her and for those who surrounded her. As they shared glances heavy with understanding, she recognized that while she could peel back the layers of human experience, she could never truly alleviate the heartache lurking behind every smile. The village was a garden of thorns and blossoms, and in both, she found her own reflection, a reminder of the complexities of life she was destined to navigate alone. The mist hung low, wrapping around Chidima like a silken shroud. Each breath she took felt laden with the whispers of those who had come before her. As she approached the heart tree, its gnarled branches stretched toward the heavens, swaying gently as if acknowledging her presence. The silvery tendrils of fog curled around its trunk, weaving an ethereal tapestry that blurred the lines between the physical world and the spirit realm. In the stillness, there was a resonance, a pulsing hum that echoed the heartbeat of the earth itself. Chidima closed her eyes, allowing the cool morning air to fill her lungs, grounding her as the world around her melted away. It was in this sacred space that she had come to uncover the essence of her being, where the veil between the living and the lost grew thin. The ancestral energy flowed through her now, igniting a flicker of courage deep within her soul. She recalled the prophecy whispered in her ear during her last visit. The spirits had invoked her name, calling her to delve deeper into the tapestry of her lineage. A shiver traced down her spine as she felt the first stirrings of their presence. They emerged like rays of sunlight breaking through a canopy, cocooning her in warmth and familiarity. With each passing moment, fragments of their stories interwove with her own. The air crackled with energy, and in that space between heartbeats, she could almost hear them speak, a myriad of voices, soft yet urgent, beckoning her to listen. Their tales of love and loss danced around her, each one a thread in the intricate web of existence. "Chidima," they called, their voices an alluring chorus that resonated through the depths of her spirit. "You stand on the precipice of change. Embrace the echoes within, for they will guide you." She felt their warmth flutter around her, a gentle invitation to explore the recesses of her talent. Memories of long-gone ancestors flashed before her, eyes gleaming with wisdom, offering silent encouragement. They had navigated tumultuous times, weathered heartaches, and clawed their way through despair, just as she was learning to do now. Her heart thundered within her chest as revelations collided in her mind. She was not merely a vessel for their voices, she was a conduit of their resilience. Their spirit and sacrifice ignited a fierce determination within her. She glimpsed visions of those she could help, souls burdened with the weight of their stories, seeking solace and understanding. Chidima's purpose crystallized like dew on grass. She was meant to bridge the gap between worlds, to weave the stories of the ancients into the fabric of the present. As the sun began its ascent, casting the heart tree in golden hues, she felt the spirits coalesce around her. They twirled, like leaves in a gentle breeze, imbuing her with strength and clarity. "Go forth," they urged softly, their essence blending into the very air she breathed. "Speak the truths we impart, for within you lies the power to transform pain into purpose." With the last echoes fading into the morning light, Chidima opened her eyes, a fire ignited within her spirit. She was no longer a passive observer of her destiny, but a willing participant, equipped with the knowledge that she carried not just her own dreams, but those of generations past. Embracing the path ahead, she stepped away from the heart tree, resolute in her commitment to honor their legacies and illuminate the lives of others with the gift she had been bestowed. Chidima stood at the threshold of the village, the vibrant colors of the evening sky sharply contrasting the shadows that stretched ominously just beyond. The laughter of children floated on the wind, a sound so pure and innocent, yet beneath it lurked an undercurrent of fear that weighed heavily on her heart. The villagers had begun to whisper of sightings, fleeting glimpses of a figure cloaked in darkness, haunting the outskirts, lurking like a specter between the trees. It was a presence that breathed unease into the once gleeful chatter of her home and infused the air with a chill that no warmth could dispel. She had sensed it for weeks, a creeping malaise that gnawed at the edges of her dreams. It was as if the very roots of the village, deeply entwined with the soil, were trying to scream out about the sorrow they bore. Chidima felt a connection to this earth that went beyond mere existence. She was an embodiment of its pain, the struggles of the villagers etched into every heartbeat. When she closed her eyes, she could see the shadows curling at the periphery of her thoughts, binding them with the histories of greed and envy that seemed to weave through the fabric of their lives. As the moon rose, casting silvery beams that danced like spirits upon the earth, Chidima made her way to the sacred grove. There, the ancient trees whispered secrets, their gnarled branches caressing the night air. She felt a deep sigh echo through the roots, a shared grief for those lost to the darkness. "What has happened?" she called out into the stillness, her voice steady yet laced with uncertainty. The wind responded, rustling the leaves, and in that moment, she understood. This figure, this omen looming in the shadows, was not merely a specter, but a manifestation, a physical embodiment born of their troubled pasts. The village's history was rife with unhealed wounds, tales of betrayal and strife that had festered like an open sore. Greed had driven neighbors apart, turning friendships into rivalries. Chidima visualized the faces of those who had fallen victim to their ambition, their haunted eyes reflecting the shadows she now faced. If they were to confront this darkness, she realized it would take more than courage. It would require the unraveling of an intricate tapestry of unresolved grudges. Determining to coax the shadows into the light, Chidima gathered her resolve. She would seek counsel from the village elders, those custodians of truth who wielded the knowledge of their ancestors. They had witnessed the rise and fall of fortunes, the cycles of love and loss that shaped their existence. Perhaps, together with their wisdom, she could map a way forward, a path that led not only to confrontation, but also to healing. As she returned to the village under the protective watch of the stars, Chidima felt a burgeoning fire within her. The shadows, she realized, had no power over her or her people unless they allowed fear to govern their hearts. With each determined step, she felt the weight of expectation lifting, replaced with a fierce resolve to illuminate the darkness, urging the village to face the specter together. Chidima ventured deeper into the unknown, her resolve ignited by the hazy glow of a sun hanging low in the sky. The lush forest she knew gave way to meadows bursting with wildflowers, petals unfurling like tiny flags heralding the passage of her spirit. Yet, amongst the vivid colors and sweet scents, a nagging sensation gripped her heart, whispering warnings of the darkness she sought to confront. Each step resonated with a mixture of anticipation and caution, reminding her that beyond beauty lurked the shadows she was determined to face. As she walked, the pockets of nature unfolded stories through rustling leaves and the laughter of the wind. Every breath she took filled her with an invigorating energy, but it was the quiet moments between encounters that gave her pause. She would close her eyes, allowing the calm to wash over her. In these fleeting seconds of stillness, the answers she sought began to take shape. Impressions of old tales, ancient battles, forgotten heroes, the sacrifice of worlds in chaos etched themselves into her mind, revealing a forgotten connection to something bigger, something poised at the edge of her understanding. Time seemed to blur as she navigated the landscape. The golden sunlight filtered through pathways of trees, each one cradling a secret. She caught glimpses of creatures darting among the underbrush, their eyes reflecting wisdom and experience beyond her years. Their movements seemed to echo the heartbeat of the earth itself, and she sensed a mutual acknowledgement. She was not merely a traveler, but also a part of this vast web of life that thrived in both light and shadow. In her wanderings, she encountered a figure cloaked in a mixture of sun-drenched hues and forest shadows. The stranger's silver hair cascaded like a waterfall of moonlight, and their eyes glimmered with knowledge that transcended time. As they spoke, their voice resonated with the cadence of stories long preserved, tales of those who had ventured into the darkness and returned forever changed. Chidima absorbed every word, knowing that beneath the relics of misfortune lay lessons cloaked in resilience. Sometimes, it is not what we seek that defines us, but the myriad paths we tread in the pursuit of understanding, the stranger advised, a knowing smile gracing their lips. The narrative weaved through Chidima, crafting a tapestry of hope amidst uncertainty. Each syllable sparked a fire within her, igniting the belief that her journey was as essential as the truth she sought. As the sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue across the horizon, Chidima felt the first stirrings of night encroach upon her. The shadows elongated around her, bringing with them a tingle of anxiety. Yet, with determination coursing through her veins, she pressed onward, her spirit kindling like a beacon. The darkness she encountered was no longer a foreboding entity, but an avenue to explore, a realm where courage and knowledge intertwined. Each stride illuminated her path, shedding light on the significance of the journey ahead. She could sense that the deeper she ventured, the more she would uncover not only about the world, but also about herself. Chidima's journey unfolded in a tapestry of moments, each thread radiant with the essence of those she met along the way. As the sun dipped behind the hills one evening, casting the world in hues of orange and purple, she crossed paths with Tola, the old woman whose presence exuded a comforting warmth. The village square was alive with colors, but Tola stood out, her white hair cascading down like loose petals from a blooming flower, her hands adorned with the scent of herbs that danced with the evening air. "Child," Tola beckoned, her voice gentle yet firm. Come closer. Let me share the whispers of the earth with you." Intrigued, Chidima stepped forward, her heart resonating with Tola's ancient wisdom. The old woman sat cross-legged on a woven mat, a small basket brimming with herbs by her side. As they spoke, Tola unveiled stories threaded with magic and practical knowledge about the healing properties of the plants surrounding them. "In every leaf there is a story, and in every story there is healing," she said, her eyes twinkling with passion. Chidima listened intently, absorbing the cadence of the words and the profound symbolism that connected nature and the human spirit. "These herbs," Tola explained, "remind us that life is fragile, yet deeply rooted in resilience. Just as the earth nurtures the plants, so too must we nurture ourselves and each other." In that moment, a seed of understanding was sown in Chidima's heart, one that would blossom into compassion and stewardship. As days turned into weeks, Chidima's friendship with Tola deepened, their conversations weaving strands of knowledge that fortified her spirit. Together, they collected herbs, learned to craft remedies, and found solace in the simplicity of shared tasks. Tola's laughter was a melody that hung in the air, buoying Chidima during times of doubt. With every challenge, be it physical exhaustion or emotional turmoil, Tola's wisdom offered a gentle reminder: the sweetest blooms arise from the most arduous of soils. One crisp morning, a wandering musician named Jade entered their lives like a whirlwind. His arrival stirred a symphony of excitement, and with him came the hauntingly beautiful melodies that seemed to dance on the wind. Jade played his guitar with an intensity that captivated Chidima, and she felt an unusual pull towards the enchanting rhythms emerging from his fingers. "Music is a bridge," he said, his gaze alight with passion. "It connects us across barriers, heals wounds unseen, and fills the voids we often overlook." Together, the trio spent countless afternoons under the shade of an ancient baobab tree, where Tola shared the wisdom of the earth, and Jade infused their conversations with harmonies that echoed the wisdom imparted. Chidima felt her spirit soar on the tides of their unity, each woman's skill melding seamlessly with Jade's melodies, transforming their small enclave into a sanctuary of creativity. Through trials and shared laughter, they discovered an unbreakable bond rooted in a mutual understanding of life's fragile beauty. In the delicate dance of support and encouragement, Chidima grasped the essence of true strength. She learned that allies brought clarity to her vision, and that grace lay in the embrace of their differences. Each day was a step toward unraveling the intricate connections between her heart, her allies, and the world around them, a tapestry still being woven, vibrant and alive. As Chidima stepped further into the cursed realm, the air thickened with an oppressive weight, each breath a reminder of the burden that history had placed upon the land. She could feel the emotions surging around her, the collective sorrow of lost generations that echoed in the whispers of the trees, the sighs of the wind, and the distant cries of invisible spirits. Shadows danced mockingly at the edges of her
vision, each one a remnant of those who had once thrived here, their dreams and hopes abruptly silenced. The landscape revealed remnants of a prominent, yet forgotten kingdom. Crumbling stone structures jutted from the earth like broken teeth, their outlines softened by thick vines and moss that draped over them like funeral shrouds. Once, these walls had echoed laughter, the vibrant spirit of a people united in culture and purpose. Now, they stood as mere specters of a past riddled with pain, testament to the fabric of existence that had been unravaged by time and turmoil. As Chidima treaded carefully over the uneven ground, she sensed the spirit of the land, the embodiment of its heartache, attempting to connect with her. It spoke not in words, but through sensations. A sudden chill that coursed through her veins, or the warmth that wrapped around her like a comforting embrace. It was a communion of sorts, a meeting of souls where Chidima could feel the deep-rooted grief entwined with fading memories
In moments of clarity, fragments of stories long stifled surfaced. Tales of love lost, families torn apart, and dreams dashed against the jagged rocks of despair. It was in one such moment of connection that Chidima felt the spirit's sorrow spill over into her own heart, blurring the lines between herself and the memories of those who had lived and died in this realm. The weight of injustice became palpable, a burden she could no longer ignore. She understood now that this darkness, a vile stain looming over her village, wasn't merely the result of external forces, but also a manifestation of internal wounds. The silence of history echoed loudly in her ears, a haunting reminder of the lives never lived and the stories untold. Resolved to break the cycle, Chidima pledged to awaken the memories wrapped in anguish, to breathe life back into the lost and forgotten voices. Healing couldn't simply be bestowed. It had to be sought, acknowledged, and shared. With each step, deeper into the heart of this darkness, she could sense the power of remembrance burgeoning within her. Light and darkness were not opposites. They existed in a delicate balance, and to restore harmony, she must first confront the truth buried beneath centuries of silence. It was clear now, she was no mere traveler in this realm, but an emissary of the lost, a bridge between what was and what could be. The path ahead might be fraught with challenges, but Chidima was determined to illuminate the shadows with the stories of those who once thrived in this now desolate landscape. History was no longer a chain binding her village. It could be a source of strength and resilience if only they found the courage to tell it anew. Underneath the shifting canopy of the twilight sky, Chidima gathered her companions around a flickering fire that resonated with warmth and purpose. The air buzzed with anticipation, spoiling for a confrontation that could unleash centuries of pent-up emotion. Each of them held within them a tale laced with heartache, histories etched in shadows that danced just beyond the light of the flames. Even the villagers, drawn by the magnetic pull of hope, began to fill the clearing, faces illuminated by the glow, anxiety mingling with curiosity. As Chidima's voice rose above the crackling embers, she poured forth a vision that spanned generations, a mosaic of grief stitched together by threads of resilience. She spoke of ancestors tied to the land, their laughter echoing in the rustle of the trees. Yet, alongside joy, there were wounds untouched, stories unspoken, the silent burdens that had festered through the years. She gestured toward the encompassing darkness, a presence that had lingered, leaching color from their lives, demanding their attention. We have carried this together, and it is time we reclaim the light. At her words, the villagers seemed to awaken from their slumber of despair. A witch pierced through the night propelled them forward, shared pulse igniting in their veins. They all felt it, the shadow thrumming at the edges of their consciousness, drawing them together like a moth to a flame. It coalesced in the heart of their gathering, an indistinct silhouette cloaked in torment, swirling with the essence of their collective fear. But Chidima was resolute. Beneath her enchanted gaze lay the power to see not only what frightens, but what binds. The shadow flickered in recognition as she approached, not collapsing under its oppressive weight, but instead challenging its existence. "I see you," she declared, standing proud and unyielding as if the nervous whispers of the villagers diminished in the light of her courage. "You are not an enemy. You are the echoes of our shared grief, the culmination of every loss we dared not voice. You are woven into the very fabric of our longing for healing, so let us not fear you, but confront you." A shared murmur of understanding rippled through the crowd. They were not alone. Chidima extended her arms, inviting her companions to join her. To dispel this darkness, we must embrace what we have buried. Together, we acknowledge our pain, our regrets, and, most importantly, our desire to be whole again. Only together can we forge the path to reconciliation. As her words hung in the still, heavy air, The villagers stepped forward, fiercely clasping hands, forming an intertwined chain representing unity in their struggles. They understood now. The shadow was no foe, but a reflection begging them to reclaim their narrative. Loosening the chains that bound them to silence, they started to voice their truths, their remorse, their sorrow, those conversations long overdue. Each revelation sparked a tremor within the shadow, dimming its power as shards of vibrancy began to break through. Together, they carried forth, ignited by the audacity of vulnerability, ready to break the reign of darkness and emerge stronger, equipped with the knowledge that their shared narrative was an unquenchable force, bound to heal, to restore. As the villagers gathered under the imposing branches of the heart tree, Chidima felt the weight of anticipation and trepidation in the air. Each face she encountered was etched with stories yet untold, a tapestry of shared burdens stretching far beyond the immediate pain they had faced. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, her heart resonating with the unspoken connection that pulsed through the crowd. They were all threads woven together, each one marked by loss and longing, yet each one powerful in its own right. "Tonight, we embrace our truth," Chidima began, her voice steady despite the quiver of nerves beneath her skin. The villagers shifted closer, drawn in by the sincerity of her intent. "We can no longer let our fears linger in the shadows, nor can we allow our losses to extinguish the light of our spirits. Instead, let us honor what we've lost by openly sharing our stories." A heavy silence fell, the kind that seemed to wrap around them like a comforting cloak, inviting vulnerability to the forefront. It was Io who broke the stillness, his face showing lines of sorrow and resilience. "I lost my son 3 years ago," he confessed, eyes glistening. "Every morning since then, I have walked these fields, hoping to catch a glimpse of him in the rustling leaves or in the whispers of the wind. My heart has been heavy with the weight of his absence, but I never shared it, thinking it would make me weaker." One by one, the tales began to weave through the atmosphere like fragrant smoke from a sacred fire. Mariama spoke of her sister, lost to sickness, while others shared similar accounts of grief tied to unfulfilled dreams and longing for connection. Each voice carried the essence of heartbreak, yet in this vulnerability, an unexpected strength began to emerge. Their tears fell freely, pooling onto the ground, nourished with meanings that transcended mere emotion. The heart tree, witnessing their collective healing, began to subtly respond, its leaves trembling like those who shared their truths. Chidima felt a surge of warmth envelop the gathering as they exchanged embraces, solace exchanged without a word. They planted seeds in the rich earth, a symbolic act of renewal, a declaration that life would continue to bloom despite their grief. The act of planting transformed the air, a promise that from the depths of sorrow, beauty could arise. With each seed nestled into the soil, they whispered hopes for healing and for connections long since strained to reawaken. As twilight deepened, the land around them hinted at transformation. Vibrant flowers began to unfurl, shyly at first, and slowly into a symphony of colors. The villagers gasped at this sudden display. It was a reflection of their internal landscape, a reminder that embracing the truth, however painful, ignited life anew. Chidima looked around as families clasped hands, tears and smiles coalescing into the heart of the night, demonstrating that their collective grief had illuminated something beautiful. The light from their stories flickered like fireflies, illuminating the path that lay ahead, promising that they could reclaim not only their land, but each other. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the village as Chidima walked the familiar paths of her childhood. Each step was filled with a sense of purpose she'd not quite understood before. She had returned not merely as a curious girl enchanted by visions, but as an agent of awakening, possessing a clarity that transcended the mundane. The air around her felt charged, alive with the potential that had been dormant for so long, waiting for the right moment to bloom. The villagers had gathered, drawn not only by the return of their own, but by an inexplicable whisper of hope. They eyed her with a mixture of admiration and trepidation, as if she held the key to unlock the treasures of their collective spirit. Chidima could see it in their eyes, the flickering flames of curiosity that dared to challenge the shadows of past disappointments. As she moved from face to face, each one told a story of struggle, loss, and an unyielding desire to thrive. There was Mama Neka, the healer, whose hands seemed to cradle the pain of the world. Chidima recognized the strength in her wearied gaze, the silent scream longing to be heard. Beside her stood Ugo, the village craftsman, a man with dreams too big for the confines of his modest workshop, yet he felt the weight of tradition as an anchor. Each pair of eyes bore witness to a reality Chidima had once taken for granted, yet now they were infused with the vibrance of possibility. "Look closely," Chidima urged, her voice steady and inviting. "The magic of this land has always been here, woven into the fabric of our lives. It is time we recognize it, time we allow it to guide us." A woman at the back, Tiwa, who had spent years tending to her fading garden, leaned closer, intrigued by the urgency in Chidima's words. As she spoke, the villagers began to fidget, a mix of hope battling skepticism. "How do we start?" Ugo finally asked, his brow furrowed, a practical man caught between reverence for the past and yearning for the future. Chidima smiled, for she understood his plight. "We start by sharing our stories," she insisted. "Each of us harbors a kind of magic. When we share our stories, we illuminate paths for others, and we realize that we are not alone in our struggles." With each word, Chidima wove a tapestry of connection among them. She called upon the spirits of their ancestors, encouraging them to partake in their collective memory. Slowly, but ever so surely, the villagers began to speak, their voices rising, fumbling at first but gaining strength. One by one, they shared the tales etched into their hearts, the sacrifices made, the dreams deferred, the laughter that punctuated their sorrows. As dusk fell, she watched in awe as the flickering lights of hope illuminated the once dark corners of their minds. They began to see each other, truly see, unearthing truths that had been buried under years of despair. In this awakening, Chidima recognized not only the depth of their struggles, but the profound beauty that came from shared vulnerability. And in that moment, she understood. Her mission was not just to awaken their vision, but to inspire their voices, coaxing out the stories waiting to spill forth. Hence, the village began to transform, gently shedding the chains of an unseen past, embracing the luminous possibilities that lay ahead. In the glow of new understanding, as the stars blinked to life above them, Chidima felt the weight of their collective dreams rising like a phoenix from the ashes of yesteryear.